Sonic 06 is regarded as one of the worst games of all time, and I really didn't want to sit through it. But because I wanted to at least attempt to beat each and every Sonic game, I had to play it eventually. And to be honest, I'm glad I did, because it's actually pretty good. But before people start trying to kill me in the comment section, let me explain myself. So without any further ado, let's dive straight in. So to defend Sonic 06 is a big ask, so you're probably justified in thinking I'm crazy, but let me explain myself, okay? Sonic 06 is a true sequel to the adventure games. Games that were very flawed, but still enjoyed and held to a high regard to this day. Sonic 06 fits right alongside them as a great game, but with a lot of huge flaws. But before we get into those flaws, what are some things that make this game great? Well, Sonic controls pretty good for the most part. Running around is fun, and Sonic doesn't seem too slow or too fast. Running around has to be enjoyable, and the game makes it fun, or at least the basic mechanics. The homing attack that's been a mainstay ever since it was added is not great here. It can't be spammed and has been slowed down, but also appears to have really bizarre timing and sometimes can go fast, I guess. You also can't use it to gain speed while running. Homing has you lose all of your speed before landing, making it feel very annoying to jump around. Sonic's campaign also has a terrible start, having the first thing you do be wandering around the hub world. Yay. I hated the hub world in Adventure 1, so why did they bring it back? It sucks. There's actually 3 of them, and each one is very annoying. The town and city are annoying to figure out where you have to go and hard to remember where things are. And the forest is much easier to understand and is quite fun to run around in, but it also feels very empty and flat. The hub worlds are also filled to the brim with challenges that kinda suck. They're just filler and you don't need to do most of them. I did a few and they were boring, so I stopped. We do have some interesting ones though, like this guard asked me to find the commander, so you just talk to him again and hooray! He's the commander. I don't know if this is meant to be a joke, but I thought it was funny. We also have Sonic Man, the best character in the game. They added me to the game. These missions also suffer from another problem. Load times. I heard the loading was bad, but oh my god, it's bad. You talk to someone, they give you a mission, and it loads. Then they explain how to do the mission, and it loads again. What is it loading this time? Once you either win or lose a challenge, it loads again. Then they'll say something, and then it'll load again. And then you're finally back in the hub world. All of that for one mission. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Okay, enough of the hub world for now. Let's get back to what Sonic has to do. You'd think he jumps right to the first level, but nope. Instead, you have to do some missions to learn Sonic's controls. Yay, what a great start we have. I'm so excited to play the game. Yay. While learning Sonic's controls, you may realize how not great the camera is. Running on small divots on the ground has the camera jut up and down, which looks really bad. The camera is also inverted, so left and right are flipped, and there's no way to change it. I tried using LT, which centers the camera behind you, but it's not smooth whatsoever, and it's just a straight cut, and is very confusing and disorienting. So I just never used it. Trying to ignore all of that though, let's enter the first stage. Oh, wait, we can't. Looks like we need a lightspeed dash. That's cool, how do we get it? Well, we need to find the shop. Where is it? I don't know. This is another problem with the hub. You can't look at the map. We only have a mini-map, meaning if you need something that isn't close by, you'll have no idea where it is. The shop was one of those places where I had no idea where to get it until I just learned where it was. And trust me, that took a while. However, the next level is always in the hub, meaning even if you learn where the shop is, you'll never know where the next level is. So you still have plenty of wandering around to do. I wasted hours walking around this hub. I hate it. You guys realize you don't just have to steal Nintendo's ideas, right? You can also steal their level of quality if you want, like, please? Yeah, okay. After you manage to find the shop and buy the shoes, you can finally get to the first level. And when you enter it, this is where you actually start to have fun with the game. Ignoring the stupid hub and other problems that we'll get to later, the levels are actually really good. This first level has a ton of fun moments and splitting paths, and I'm not even annoyed to play through it multiple times as different characters. It's just fun. It's not a perfect stage though, and does have some problems. The camera has a lot of specific places to go to frame the action, and most of the time it works well. Like, you know how I hated that the camera was inverted? Well, it's not even that big of a deal since I barely had to move the camera, because the game did it for me all of the time. However, this level does go a bit overboard and moves the camera a lot and very quickly, making it hard to keep track of what's going on. In fact, the whole level is pretty fast. We'll go from running on water, to running on a bridge, to riding a whale, to oh look, there's tails. It's very fast, and I wish it was toned down a bit, but as a whole, it's not too bad. The level did have some gimmicks though that I didn't think were that great, like these rotating doors that I just could not get to work. I have no idea how they work, I just kept hitting them. Or this segment where you slide on water, but Sonic turns automatically. So when I tried to turn left with the cave, I just ran into everything. It's really weird. However, the main segments of the level are still pretty fun. After you beat this first section though, we move on to a brand new idea to this game, Mach speed segments. At these, Sonic runs forward at high speeds and you can't make him stop, so you just have to dodge and weave through all the obstacles in his way. This is a cool idea and it can be fun, it's just not a lot of the time in the game. Unlike the water section, you don't strafe left and right, you turn Sonic. And he turns way too fast for something like this. It's pretty hard to get him to turn just right when you want him to. It's also quite hard to see what's coming ahead since there's just so much stuff in front of you. The game also doesn't seem to have a very clear rule on whether you hit something or just go around it. And if you do hit something, you go flailing around on the floor and you're unable to control Sonic. These segments are quite fun trial and error challenges, but they aren't presented like that. This game still has lives, and usually the game only saves after multiple sections. Like you have to do both the regular beast level and the Mach speed level, and then it saves. Later in the game, you have even more sections connected, and it gets really annoying. But it makes these Mach speed sections very stressful, since if you run out of life, you have to start the entire level over, including all the level and the Mach speed level and anything else that was there. It's very irritating. So, there's a few problems. Look, I agree Sonic 06 is flawed, but there's still a lot of fun to be had. The first boss is actually pretty cool. The fight has you get a giant robot dog tired so you can grind on his back and drive him into a wall. It's pretty fun and a creative idea. However, the camera in it isn't great, since I'd wanted to stay locked at the boss so I knew where he was. But it doesn't, making it very hard to see the giant dog that's trying to kill me. But overall, it still is a pretty fun boss. So this first level, with a normal section, a Mach speed section, and a boss, is pretty fun. It does have major problems, likely due to the fact that the game wasn't finished, but it also has a lot of good ideas and a design that really shines through, make you ignore a lot of the bad things for now. The later levels actually get a lot better in these regards. Yeah, they still have interconnected levels, which makes the life system very annoying, but future Mach speed sections have a lot more space and straightaways, making it a lot more fun to run through. And we do end up getting a lot less camera angle annoyances. However, once you beat this first level, you get put back in the hub world and need to find the next level. Like I've already said, this sucks. What I haven't mentioned yet is you have to go back to the shop after every level near the beginning of the game in order to buy the next item to progress. This time it's a slide, or as the game calls it, anti-gravity, because the animation looks bad, I guess. However, for the longest time, all you can buy are these required items, and you're not giving any optional items till much later in the game, meaning for the longest time this shop is pointless. You can't even buy things like extra lives, which would have been amazing. Eventually you can start buying these cool gems that give you special abilities, like the ability to run even faster, which is really fun, but you get them near the end, meaning for a lot of the game this shop is pointless. Or well, at least for Sonic's campaign. Also, there's a bar in the corner showing how long you can use each ability, and it's always there. Even though most of the time you don't have any abilities, it's just there. It's always on screen, and it gets very annoying very quickly. Anyway, let's go ahead and find the next level. Level 2 is a fun mechanic where you hold Princess Elise, because of course Sonic saves a princess, since Sega does what Nintendo does. Anyways, while holding her, she could make a shield around you, which I assumed made you invincible, but no. What does it do then? I'm not sure. It allows you to walk on quicksand and water, but I don't really know what else. The narrator also tells you this near the start of the level, but he does so slow enough that you have enough time to run right into the quicksand before he says the warning. Which, kills you. Later there's also a jump onto quicksand, but you have no way of knowing that there's quicksand up there until you jump, so why? I don't like the quicksand. This level also ends with another boss. This time it's a new character, Silver. We'll get back to Silver a bit more in his campaign, but here he's annoying. He has telekinesis and tries to grab Sonic and throw him to damage him. However, he has little to no cooldown, meaning he can pick you up and throw you to make you lose your rings, and then pick you up and throw you again, killing you. If he grabs you, it's like a 50% chance that you just won't be able to get away, and he'll just grab you again, meaning you'll just keep dying over and over again. It gets very annoying very quickly. Once you understand his fight, it's not too hard, but it's still very irritating, since you have to be very careful not being grabbed a single time, because if you do, you're dead. And the camera still doesn't stay on the boss, making it still annoying. But after that, we return to snowboarding, which is really fun in Sonic Adventure. But here, they managed to ruin it. While in that game, it was mostly a gimmick and not really a challenge, here they tried to make it a lot harder and succeeded. It is definitely harder. It's also worse. Jumping feels annoying, since you jump at the release, not when you press the button. The ski also starts off not moving, making it have a very slow, less interesting start. You can also press back to completely stop the ski, which feels really weird. At one point, the camera goes from behind you to in front of you, but it doesn't invert your controls or anything. Meaning if you're pressing forward to go forward and then it flips, you're now pressing backwards and you stop and you die. This game. But after you get through those, after all those levels with big problems and a lot of annoyances, you finally get to my favorite ones, the future levels. This first set of future levels are really fun and my favorite in the game. We have another ski section, but this one is made far better and is actually fun this time. The Mach speed is straight and understandable and fun. The levels also have very obvious splitting paths, making it actually good. The biggest annoyance is with the rails, since you can't easily switch between them anymore. Even though you could with Shadow the Hedgehog, and this game comes after that, why did they get rid of an improvement? However, now the homing attack does let you aim to the rails, making jumping on them a bit less annoying. Also, the Mach speed section shows off how weird it is to actually turn Sonic instead of strafing him. Yeah, it's weird, but it's not too bad. The boss here also isn't great. His name is Iblis, and he's just a giant lava monster. You just have to wait and dodge attacks before attacking him. Pretty simple, not amazing. Actually quite slow, to be honest. After that, we have some train levels that are actually pretty fun, and a Mach speed section that's not, and a boss that's fine. However, the camera does lock onto him, so that's pretty good. This ruins area does have a fun Mach speed section, and I really liked it. Probably my favorite in the game. I could go more in depth about each and every stage, but I think you get the picture by now. The levels have a lot of good, but also a lot of bad. Some bad is really bad, like the Mach speed wasting all of your lives. Some are less bad, like the fact that the slide takes forever to stop sliding for some reason. However, overall, Sonic's gameplay is still there and is still fun. His final boss is also really good. It has Eggman drive a robot dragon, and Sonic needs to jump on and ram it into a wall. It's a nice callback to the first boss, and it's really fun. Though it is a bit annoying, like I don't get it sometimes. How? What math is saying to fall through the dragon or grab a... What the heck is this? But overall, it is still pretty good. But anyways, all of that is just Sonic's campaign, but just like the rest of the franchise up to this point, there is more. There are 2 other campaigns featuring different characters and movesets. But before we get to those characters, we do have a few more to discuss in Sonic's campaign. You see, in SA1, we had 6 campaigns, all separate. In SA2, we had 2 campaigns with 3 main styles that we switched between. Sonic 06 manages to have my favorite system of them all. We have other styles like Tails and Knuckles, but they're not their own campaign, nor are they 2/3 of Sonic's campaign. Instead, they're just a few short sections throughout Sonic's campaign. They don't take too long and are just a nice surprise break from running around as Sonic. Tails is pretty slow, and his only attack is throwing ring bombs. His attacks are pretty bad. Throwing them is very slow and hard to aim. You can snipe them, but it doesn't really help. Once you've shot one, the camera just resets, meaning if you missed because it was too low, you can't adjust to make it higher since your view completely resets. It's just annoying. His real strength though is in his flying. He flies pretty fast and can go to so many different places. However, his flying also lasts a very short amount of time, which is fine if you only want to fly some of the time, but as Tails, you only want to fly because you never want to run. His running is so much slower. If you run in a straight line, he'll just start and stop running over and over again for some reason. Why does this happen? Tails as a whole is a lot of fun and is a nice breather. It's also a lot of fun to play as him in the hub world since he can go anywhere. Knuckles is used far less often than Tails, and he's fine. He can do all of his usual things like glide and climb walls. It doesn't really do much special. It's fun to glide, I guess, but you don't really do it that much, at least not as Knuckles. And he attacks with these really short punches, making attacking things also not great. He's fine, and I don't really hate his appearance, but he doesn't really do much. Fine addition, but could use a lot of work.
However, those characters are only in Sonic's campaign. The next character is in a different campaign, Shadow's campaign. Shadow is kind of a mix of Sonic and like the entirety of the Shadow the Hedgehog game. Instead of doing basic homing attacks where you spam the button and just keep homing, now if you spam it, Shadow will just punch everything. So if you're attacking a big enemy, you can just keep pressing it over and over and keep punching it over and over until it dies. It's actually pretty fun. Shadow also has a few new mechanics like vehicles. Yay. These aren't too great, though they're not too bad either. The car is fine, though it's a bit annoying to turn. These hang gliders are super easy, and I'm not really sure what the challenge is supposed to be. And the sand segment is super annoying, since if you flip it, you just die. It's not great. I also do one of Sonic's Mach speed segments again, but this time as Shadow, and he can't go Mach speed. So I just ran, and I honestly got pretty close. So I assumed that was what I was supposed to do, but just do it better, and I did it over and over again, until I turned around and realized that there was a motorcycle that I was supposed to ride the whole time. After realizing that, the section is actually pretty fun. Or at least it's a lot more fun than just running. But yeah, the vehicles can be fun under the right circumstances. It's just that in this game, you're not really put in said circumstances very often. Shadow also has a new attack where he shoots light from his foot, and I kinda hate it. Only because you had this one time in the hub where you're told basically nothing. But they mentioned fountains, and one of them has candles, and that's about it. You are supposed to light the candles with the attack, but it doesn't tell me that the attack can light things on fire, so how am I supposed to figure it out? So I did not know what to do. It was so annoying. Okay, I've already complained about the hub with Sonic. Let's talk about the levels. Shadow's levels are actually pretty good. They're just more good levels, but some of them are just Sonic's, but reused, which is annoying. And even most of the bosses are just reuses from Sonic. There's only one new boss, and that's Mephiles. Mephiles is a bad guy who made himself look like Shadow's Shadow, just then later turned into an ice creature for some reason. Anyway, his fights are actually pretty good. They make Shadow feel strong. You see, throughout the game, Shadow gets this cool new teleporting homing attack ability. Once you attack enough enemies and it fills up the meter, you can activate it and then hold the homing attack button and you'll just go from enemy to enemy, beating them all up. It's a lot of fun. The reason I bring it up though is that it's needed to defeat Mephiles. Mephiles tries to protect himself with shields and summons minions to attack you. However, once you've done enough attacks and you fill up the meter, well... It's that quick. As soon as it fills up, you've won. That could be bad boss design, but I love it. It makes Shadow feel so powerful. I mean, the power is kind of ruined since right afterwards you fight him again as Omega. Like literally right afterwards. So that's kind of annoying, but still, it feels cool. Speaking of Omega, he's fine. I'm not 100% sure how he's supposed to attack, since the only way that I could get him to shoot was if I jumped and then shot, since I had no idea what he was actually doing when I was shooting while standing on the ground. Not a clue. I don't know. He's weird and not fun. Rouge is Shadow's other companion, and she's a mix of Tails and Knuckles. She glides like Knuckles and throws bombs like Tails. She's fine, and she's just a nice breather, which is nice. But once you got through all the levels, Shadow fights Mephiles one more time. This time he summons bigger minions instead of smaller ones, so they're a bit harder. However, it still has the same ending. But once you beat him, it turns out that you didn't actually beat him. And now he summons a big horde of small minions, and that... what? Why did he downgrade? But anyway, now in the cutscene, Shadow has to fight them all. Oh, this is gonna be cool. What's he gonna do? Teleport and attack them, or run around and knock them out super fast? Ooh, maybe he can spin and make a tornado and throw them all away. Nope, instead he runs in a straight line. Pretty slowly. That was a bit disappointing, but okay. Shadow's campaign was basically just a slightly altered version of Sonic's. I feel like if the game had more time, they could have given him more unique levels. However, what we got was fine. Shadow is a bit different, and we did get vehicles to spice it up, and they were there. His campaign was worse than Sonic's, but it's not terrible. So that was quick, but let's move on to the third campaign, Silver's. Well, Silver isn't like Sonic and Shadow. He runs slow, doesn't curl up when he jumps, and can't even homing attack. Instead, his gameplay is more about using telekinesis. He can lift objects and throw them at enemies, and he can even lift himself and float for a period of time. His levels are fine. I wasn't a fan of his fights since they were very slow. At one point in his campaign, you partner up with Sonic and you get to fight enemies as Sonic. And after playing as Silver for so long, it feels so much better to just fight as Sonic. Silver is very different from the other two, meaning his levels are very different, so I guess that's nice. But they're not too fun. Not terrible, but not as good. Whenever you find a group of enemies that you need to take out, you can either grab a box or try to stun the enemy so you can pick them up. Then you can try to throw them at other enemies, but you'll likely miss because Silver can't aim. Then you'll do that over and over again for each enemy. The coolest thing you can do is grab missiles that are shot at him so you can throw them back. And it is cool in concept, but in reality, it's just better to grab something else. And when I did try to grab the missiles, it didn't always work and it was just irritating. Also, since his moveset is so different, he has unique bosses since he can't really fight the old ones. Though they did try to reuse everything that they could. His first boss is Iblis, but this time you have to throw stuff at him, and it works pretty well as Silver's boss. He also gets to fight Sonic and Shadow, who should be super easy since it was so annoying from their side. And well, yeah. At first it is hard because they attack you out of nowhere, but they don't attack fast, so if they hit you, you can just get up and get your rings, and they'll just stand there waiting. And once you understand how the fight works, you can pretty easily get them in a loop where they just take damage over and over again. So yeah, pretty easy. Not too fun, but easy. He also fights this guy again, though it's a bit different. The boss flies above the ground and summons enemies, lasers, and missiles to attack you. Oh, and this time you can't grab the missiles! Yay! However, this fight actually has the camera lock on the boss, which is nice, but he's flying, so you can't see the ground. Why? This means if you get hit and drop rings, you cannot see where they are unless you back up enough for the camera to move down. You also can't see how close you are to the enemies, meaning you'll likely run into them. This boss is very annoying. I hate it. The final boss is just Iblis, again, but different, and that's it. Silver's campaign is by far my least favorite, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I did beat it, more than I could say for Heroes. Anyway, he also has two friends that fight with him, being Blaze and Amy, for some reason. Blaze has a cool double jump and a weird homing attack that's actually pretty fun. She also has a fire tornado, which is also fun. Amy has a weird delayed double jump and a close range hammer swing that's not great. So, Not much to add, there you go. Overall, I enjoyed most of the characters, even though from what I've heard, no one else really does. However, many are better than others, like Sonic and Shadow being the best, like they usually are. However, I am glad that they are here for a bit of change. Though this game does go a bit overboard with change. We have Mach Speed, other characters, vehicles, carrying Elise, and probably more than I'm forgetting. I enjoy the idea of changing the gameplay, though I feel like they should have perfected Sonic's gameplay before deciding to add so many other ideas. It just feels like they tried too much and they couldn't really handle all of it, meaning most of it just feels unpolished or even unfinished. One of the most annoying aspects of this is the story. Oh boy. The story has some cool ideas, but also a lot of annoying additions. The main plot revolves around time travel, which I think is a really cool idea for Sonic. I mean, we already had it in CD, and we'll see it again in Generations, but it's a good idea. Besides, this is the only one that attempts to have a big story, and it kind of fails at it. It does have some cool ideas, like Shadow going back in time to show Silver some event, or Eggman sending Sonic to the future and he has no way of getting back. They definitely try to use it well, but just like a lot of the time they use time travel, you just end up asking, wait, why didn't they just do that? Like, we see Sonic come back from the future since, like I said, Eggman sent him there. However, once he returns, he tries to go save Elise, and she ends up dying. Spoilers, I guess. That then requires him to go back in time again, this time to right before she dies in order to save her. My question is, why didn't he just do that the first time? Like, why did he go back to when he was sent back? Why didn't he just go back earlier to have even more I don't get it. I mean, there seems to be little to no rules to time travel here, so they can just do whatever they want. So why not just make it super easy to win? I mean, Shadow and Silver go back in time to see the events that lead up to the game, and at first I thought they were observers like the Ghost of Christmas Past. But no, they full on intervene and try to stop the bad guy. So if they can do that, why not go back even further and stop the whole thing from happening? I mean, I could go on, and I do really enjoy discussing time travel, though this is just not great. I have little to no interest in this game's story, and it's not told well, and as I've already gone over, it has a lot of plot holes. However, I do want to talk about how the story is told. The cutscenes, they kinda suck. They have these high quality pre-rendered cutscenes and these in-game cutscenes, and the game decides to split between them for no reason. Like, I have no idea how they chose what to pre-render and what to not, and it just looks weird. The animations themselves also range in quality by a lot. Some cutscenes are great, like the opening where Sonic destroys a ton of robots but stopping to have some fun. This really got me hyped to play the game. Then I was shoved into the missions in the hub world, but we already went over that. Other cutscenes are just the characters standing and talking, and that's it. They usually don't even have music, which sounds really weird combined with the pauses in the voice acting.
How long is this gonna go on?
Let's split up. I'll get their attention, and you take the princess.
Okay, you be careful, Tails.
Leave it to me.
Some of them just feel awkward too, like Sonic throwing Knuckles a card, cause I don't know. Knuckles also has a weird cutscene with Rouge where he runs up to her and gets mad, which isn't weird by itself, but the exact same animation is used twice, mere seconds apart.
What? Heh. If you don't like it, you can stay here.
You've got to be kidding.
It just feels unfinished. Or what about the cutscene right after Shadow and Silver's fight, where Silver tries to attack one more time, but Shadow uses chaos control before kicking Silver? This could feel cool, but it just doesn't. It's just slow and silent and stationary and feels awkward.
Chaos control! You!
I mean, what is he even doing? Did he slow down time? Silver seems to move just fine afterwards, so if he did it wear off immediately? I don't get it. It's weird. Speaking of weird, great transition. Eggman! That's it. Why does he look so dumb? Like, I get them wanting to make him more realistic to fit next to the other humans, but like, is this the best they could come up with? It just looks weird, and I'd prefer him just not looking like it. He also speaks for an absurdly long amount of time after sending Sonic back in time. Like, why does he speak for so long? Just shut up.
Rest assured, they're not dead. Yet.
They've just been teleported by my glorious invention to another time.
However, other than the cutscenes with the old characters, we also get some new ones. Like Silver, who's from the future and goes back in time to kill Sonic, believing him to be the cause of all the future destruction. He's an enjoyable character, with a cool design, mechanic, and personality. Sega really used to be great at making new characters. New animal characters. The villains are also new, having Mephiles and Iblis being two halves of the same ancient god who was split apart. That split being the event that Shadow and Silver went back in time to. Anyways, I like this idea for a villain, and Mephiles really does look and act really threatening throughout the game. He is a mighty threat. Iblis is less interesting, just being a big monster, though he's still threatening in his own way. So yeah, as a whole, the new characters were pretty good. Yeah, because that's all the new characters, right? Okay, fine. Elise. I don't like her. She's just a damsel in distress in this game, and she fits that role pretty well, getting kidnapped, I swear, in every cutscene she's in. However, I don't think I would hate her as much if she wasn't in this weird forced romance. Having Sonic frolic through a field with her, telling her that she should smile more.
Elise, smile.
We even get forced to do this mission where we have to choose between Sonic's true love interest, whether you think it's Amy or Elise. Anyone who chose Elise, I feel sorry for your mental state. I'm sorry. This is weird. I think Elise would have been much better as a Maria type character, where instead of being an adult, she'd be a child. And instead of seeing Sonic as a romantic partner, she just sees him as an inspiration. This would have not only added a child in a game meant for children, so like your exact target audience, Sega, come on. But it would also have gotten rid of the romance, which would have been amazing. All of these weird and annoying cutscenes end up with me not liking the story, and the ending is just not great. It starts with Mephiles killing Sonic. Why? Okay, no, I get why he does it, but it just feels so stupid. After the whole game, he just shows up, shoots him once, and Sonic dies. No build-up, no fight, nothing. Compare this to SA2, where Eggman managed to lure Sonic into a trap before tricking Tails to confess their secrets, and then blasting him out and exploding him. Yes, Sonic doesn't die there, but it's just far more interesting than, oh look, he shot him. It's just dumb. And that's not the end of the cutscene either, it just keeps going with loading screens in the cutscene. Why? What is it loading? Why couldn't this have been pre-rendered? Would that have fixed the loading? It's just weird. However, basically what happens is that Mephiles and Iblis combine back together into the godlike being called Solaris, or Solaris, I'm not sure. And the characters think they can bring Sonic back to life with the Chaos Emeralds, because of course they can, his name's on the box. But now, with one final stage, we have to play as each character on their own section getting a different Chaos Emerald. The sections they play are just existing sections of old levels, because God forbid Sega makes new levels. However, it's part of the levels that each character hasn't played yet, so I guess it's fine. However, they have been edited, adding this new black hole thing throughout them. I hate these. They're one-hit kills and just appear out of thin air right in front of you. Silver section was by far my least favorite, having them spawn right on top of me. And even when I waited back for them to appear before proceeded, it still managed to kill me. And if you lose all your lives, you have to start the entire thing back over as the first character. I was very annoyed. We did have some sections, specifically those with Knuckles and Rouge, that were extremely easy. And I can't tell if I like how easy it is or if I'm just disappointed. However, once you've collected them all, you go back to Sonic and... of course, the conclusion to Sonic's romance, and I really hate it. I don't know anymore. Let's just pretend this didn't happen and move on, okay? Now all the hedgehogs, or at least the male ones, go super, and they head off to fight Solaris. Or Solaire, I still don't know. This fight started off as epic, having you switch between Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, all of which having their own unique attack. Flying around Solaris with the main theme playing, it was epic, just like the other adventure games. However, this quickly falls apart, because, how do you do damage? I couldn't seem to damage it at all. I tried attacking at each character and lost some health somehow, and I don't even know what it was. Eventually I noticed that Silver did damage, but then it just stopped. Turns out only Silver can attack at first, and then only Shadow, and then only Sonic, for some reason. Why? Like, Silver breaks one arm and Shadow breaks the other, so why can't you break them in either order? Why does Silver have to break his before Shadow can even start? And why even make them character specific at all? It doesn't make sense. I mean, you have to switch between them when you're running low on rings, so you'll be switching anyway. Shadow also only does damage when he's fully charged, meaning he'll do nothing with his regular attack. So if you attack and see that nothing happened, you just assume that nothing happens and Shadow can't attack. Why did he do this? I don't know. Also, Sonic does a last hit when both arms are broken, but he goes for the torso. His attack hits the torso, and the arms don't block it. So what was the point in breaking them at all? This makes no sense. But once you beat this phase, you move on to the next. How do you attack now? Well, exactly the same. You attack a Silver, then Shadow, then Sonic, in that order. The only difference is that now there's more projectiles you need to dodge, which isn't even that bad. The only bad thing is that Silver's attacks can be blocked by the projectiles, but you don't really have a way to counter that, meaning you just have to attack repeatedly, over and over, eventually having it get hit, and then you do it over and over, hitting him enough times so you can finally get him down enough to switch to Shadow. And you'll also need to keep an eye out on your rings, since if you take too long, you just die. So when it gets low, you just have to switch to a different character and wait for it to fill up. However, they don't refill immediately, meaning you'll just have to fly around doing nothing. Because remember, Sonic and Shadow can't do damage yet, meaning you're just sitting there waiting. This sucks. Once you finally beat the boss, you have a final cutscene where you choose time travel to undo the entire game. Good. I'm glad all of this is erased. And that might seem weird having started this video saying that it's not that bad, but as I wrote the script and as I'm reading it, I'm realizing that it kind of is. But actually, I did the exact same thing with the adventure games. I played all 3 adventure games, and each one was a lot of fun with Sonic, but then just got annoying with everything else. Each adventure game had me in the game annoyed. SA1 had an annoying hub world, just like Sonic 06. Both SA1 and 2 have annoying side characters, just like Sonic 06. I started each game with excitement, but ended it having wasted way too much time dying over and over again, restarting level after level. I hated the ending levels on SA2 because I just kept dying and starting over. I hated all the boring side campaigns in SA1. I understand why 06 is hated, it just feels unfinished, and it has way too many problems. But so did every other 3D Sonic game up to this point. 06 wasn't a huge deviation, it just feels like the next step down in quality. Not a jump down, but just a step. Honestly, the adventure games disappointed me because I heard they were so great and they ended up just being pretty good. Many parts were very good, but they weren't the perfect games that I thought they were. Sonic 06 has been called the worst game of all time, so when I ended up playing it and it was just a step down from SA1 and 2, it was a lot better than I thought it would be. I was super confused as to why I didn't have nearly as bad of a time as other people. The biggest issues others have brought up are the glitches, and mine didn't really have that many of them. I hadn't mentioned that many so far, and there's a good reason for it. I didn't see many. I saw barely any glitches, like, at all. There were some parts with a glitchy camera, and sometimes the game did lag, and there were quite a lot of times that it lagged, but I got used to it. The worst thing the game did was load all of the time, which was extremely annoying, but still, I got used to it. I know it's a bad excuse to say I got used to it, but I'm not excusing them. Yes, they're bad, but I don't see why that makes this game so much worse than the others. If you like Sonic Adventure, then play Sonic 06. You can find copies online for not that much, so I do recommend giving it a go. It's definitely not perfect, and actually quite flawed, but it's also a lot of fun. I wish it wasn't rushed, and I wish it was completed. I mean, we do have fan attempts to try to fix the whole game, like Project 06, which I haven't tried yet, but it looks amazing. This is honestly one of those real Sega hire this man things. I want to play it eventually, since it looks amazing, like I just said, but as of now, I'm done playing Sonic 06. So if you enjoyed it, roll to that subscribe button, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have to say. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you later. And goodbye. So I was confused why I didn't encounter that many glitches. So I asked on Reddit why the game was seen so badly. And someone mentioned that they played it on PS3 and there was a ton of glitches. And I played it on Xbox 360 and there weren't that many. So I assume it's just the console you played on. So if you can, play on 360. It seemed to run a lot better. Not great, but better, I suppose.